Have you ever wanted to go to Antarctica, but you are terrified of the Drake Passage? If so, then this cruise chat is for you. Absolutely. There are amazing ways that with Silversea we can fly over the Drake Passage so that you don't spend days becoming best friends with your toilet bowl and just feeling nauseous and starting your vacation off with just an upset stomach. You can fly over the Drake Passage and land and just start right away and just dig right into that immersive experience. We're also going to be looking at some of their fascinating itineraries. They are just phenomenal. And Kristin's going to do a great brand overview of Silversea. So let's just dive right in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Cruise Chat. I'm Kathleen Penner, owner of Plenty of Sunshine Travel, and today I'm joined by Kristin. And Kristin is working with Silversea, and as you can see, it's Silversea Expeditions. All of you guys who have been to my channel before and you've subscribed, you know Expeditions has such a place in my heart. I love expedition cruising. So I am very excited to sit and talk with Kristin about this. And I also have a playlist. If you want to go back and look at some of the other ones that I've met before with Silversea, I know it's been a while, but we do have some great content there. But this is super exciting, so make sure you stay here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Kristin, and we're just going to learn more about all about Silversea.
I love it. Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's always nice to have the opportunity to chat with you and, your network as well. So yes, my name is Kristin. I'm one of two director of expedition sales at Silversea. And like you, expedition, is very near and dear to me. It's a part of the industry that I just couldn't imagine not working in.
Right.
It's just how I've spent a number of the last few years of my career, and hope to stay within this space because I just absolutely love this way of seeing the world.
Yeah, it's a much
Expedition cruising.
deeper immersion. It's absolutely learning more about where you're going. It's not just like a little overview. You're in the heart of that area and you're just learning all about it. And I think it's a fascinating way to go.
Completely. And I feel like you just literally gave the best segue to the next slide
And I
because
didn't even know it, honest. Yes.
when we talk about the Silversea experience in general, now Silversea is made up of both classic ocean ships and expedition ships. So just some of the hallmarks of us as a company. First and foremost, exactly as you said, is that concept of traveling deeper. It's that opportunity of really getting into the heart and soul of a destination, experiencing it, and you can see it from our hallmarks, experiencing it from a culinary angle, from a cultural angle, from an adventure level, from a local level, getting to learn and understand, the different way of life of everyone around the world and the places that we're visiting. And that opportunity to do it on, ultra luxury, all inclusive vessels. We have
Right.
very intimately sized ships, to the point where there's this photo I love that we use quite often at Silversea, and it's literally Silver Cloud sailing under Tower Bridge
Oh,
in London. And that really goes
so
to
few
showcase
go there. You know, they all
the
say
intimate
London, but it's
size.
like an hour out of town. It's not really
Exactly,
London.
exactly.
Yeah.
You might be down in Southampton or over in Dover if you're on one of the larger ships, but Silversea, because of the size of our ships, we can get right into the heart of where all the action happens. Our guests can walk off and we are in the heart of the destination. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, continue on. We can dive deeper, go further in, from an expedition standpoint with our own equipment like Zodiacs and things, from a classic ocean perspective, with amazingly curated shore excursions, very much centered around helping our guests understand and really
Yes.
truly immerse themselves in
And
the
I love that
destination.
they could also be included. I think that that's a great way because so often those shore excursions, somebody can get on board and look and go, oh no, look at how much this is. I wasn't expecting that. And of course, I do help my clients know that, but sometimes they're not sure. If you've booked yourself or gone with somebody else, and having them included, and have being able to do one a day that's included is just a fascinating, is great way to see the area, and it's a great value.
That's exactly it. And that's,
Yes.
another one of our, pillars that we're very proud of at Silversea is you can literally pay one price with us. We will take care of you door to door, and everything comes included. And we can go a little bit more in depth on what that looks like, especially from an expedition perspective, because it can be such a breath of fresh air to go on board and never have to, pay a dime for anything, which is fantastic.
And there's something so lovely of walking off the ship at the end and not owing anything else.
Right? Just walk off with memories and no bill attached to it.
That's a great way to say it.
Exactly. So the nice thing with Silversea from a destination perspective, we do visit all 7 continents, of course, with a lovely mix of both our classic and expedition ships. And the reason why, we've made a point of visiting so much of the world, we visit over 900 destinations, is we want to keep our guests coming back to Silversea again and again. We don't want to give them any other reason to go to another, luxury cruise line because we don't have that destination. So that's why we have, put so much effort into offering an amazing breadth of product all over the world so that our guests can continue to come back to the Silversea experience with a different ship, with a different destination every time. And then we even have guests, of course, that they have sailed so much with Silversea, they come back and they do our world cruises again and again as well, which we will be launching the 2027 world cruise coming up very soon. Can't give specifics on dates or timing or anything like that.
Yes, absolutely. And if anybody wants to get on that waiting list and you want me to book it for you the instant it comes out, because boy, do they fill fast.
Oh my gosh, do they ever fill fast? And, we have guests that are on the 2024 World Cruise right now, so they get the sneak peek of when we launch the new world cruise. And again, a lot of those repeat guests will book into, the future world cruises because we always theme them differently. The itinerary always changes, from year to year, again, to keep that loyalty, to keep our guests, wanting more, looking to seek new destinations that they haven't been to with Silversea. And, in order to be able to sail to as many places in the world that we do, we need to have a large fleet in order to do that. And so we actually just took delivery yesterday, actually. So May 14th, we took delivery of the Silver Ray. She is our 12th ship in the Silversea fleet. And what's kind of neat with Silver Nova and Silver Ray specifically on our classic fleet is sort of the design focus with these two ships. We're used to traditional ocean cruising where, you have your pool as kind of the central area with all the chairs around it and things like that. And, what we decided to do with these two ships is let's move kind of the amenities in the public spaces to the outer rims of the ship so that you can actually be sitting in the pool and the view is what is passing you by rather than, you're looking at the pool chairs and things like that are around you. You are right close to the nice glass, kind of side of the ship. And you can just enjoy swimming in the pool, but never feel like you've left the destination.
Right.
So that's beautiful. A lot of the nuances that have been put into the design of Silver Nova and Silver Ray. Just, really making sure the destination is always kind of accessible, visibly to our guests when they're sailing, when they're dining, when they're sitting in the pool, things like that. Really, really neat, beautiful, beautiful ships.
Amazing.
So within the 12 ships, 8 of them are on that classic ocean side, and then 4 of them are within the expedition space. And those are the ones that I focus on at Silversea. But I think it's important, just to mention Silversea, for those that aren't aware, we are part of the Royal Caribbean group. There's Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and then us at Silversea. And actually kind of a nice transition, between the 3 brands. We've got, our larger Royal Caribbean ships that are so family oriented. They have so many unique, fun, exciting, adventurous features on their ships and really can cater, to really anyone. And then we have our more premium, Celebrity brands. They've got fantastic entertainment. They've really upped the game, especially with,
Yes.
kind of the Cirque du Soleil style shows, all of the amazing specialty restaurants on board, beautiful, comfortable, modern staterooms and suites.
Yes.
And then we move into Silversea, which is, the smaller ship, ultra luxury, inclusive brand. And you could really be a client of all of them if you're traveling with a family. You could be on royal or celebrity. If maybe you're just sneaking away for an anniversary trip, it could be on Silversea. But the nice thing is, being a part of the Royal Caribbean family this is what has happened to the Silversea fleet since just 2021.
Wow.
We have doubled the size of our fleet in a very few short years. And again, a lot of it has to do with the demand for, especially, post what we all went through, the demand for that more intimate way of seeing a destination, not being a part of, kind of some of the more touristy destinations, getting away from the crowds, having a more intimate experience with your destination. So both on the expedition and on the ocean side, we've had some delivery of some brand new ships since 2021, which is fantastic.
And that just shows
of
the
course,
commitment that Royal Caribbean has made as well to Silversea, and I think that's a great
completely.
Look at
Completely.
that. Yeah.
And, we hope to see this list and this slide continue to grow. And that's where, our valued partners like yourself come in, is helping the world, understand and recognize the options that are available with Silversea. So from an expeditions perspective, I should mention as a company, so actually Silversea is celebrating 30 years this year. This is our 30th anniversary. And the expedition side of the business started 15 years ago.
Okay.
And what's sort of interesting, and obviously, Kathleen, you're very well-versed on the different expedition options and things like that. And so we recognized kind of back in 2008, expedition cruising looked very differently back then. There were much fewer options, and you really had to sacrifice sort of some of the comforts of the on-ship experience in order to, take the adventure of a lifetime off ship. So if you did want to go to a place like Antarctica or the Arctic, you were typically on maybe a freighter ship, a science ship, or you were on vessels that they were just older ships, limited amenities on board, typically kind of, your fold down single beds that, also dual as your sofa, things like that, more cafeteria style food. Because really the focus was the destination.
Right.
And so Silversea sort of thought like, but why can't you have both? Like, why does it have to be one or the other?
Right.
And so back in 2008, Silversea was like, well, we're going to give this a go. We're going to kind of pioneer this concept of let's marry up, true on-ship indulgence, that luxury service-oriented perspective, and true adventure off-ship. Those two, you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yes.
And that was kind of the start of Silversea Expeditions, and sort of the luxury, platform of being able to still have adventure, but still not sacrifice on those comforts. Because I know for myself personally, when I travel, I don't want to travel in less comfort than what I have in my day to day. I would imagine you would be the same. I would imagine a lot of people would be the same.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I get it budget wise. Maybe some people, aren't able to travel that same way, but we recognize there was a lot of, the guest profile out there that just didn't want to embrace an expedition because they didn't want to have to give up or sacrifice, sort of the on-ship, comfort level and things like that.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of one of the starting points of the innovation of Silversea Expeditions. And we've continued, of course, to grow the fleet, expand our destinations. Our expedition ships do actually touch, even through the 4 of them, they do touch on all 7 continents within a sailing year. and, helping people get to kind of those remote regions of the world and still be able to do it at the comfort level, that they're looking for, and the service level as well. And we do that, with an amazing expedition team, which we can talk more about. And again, like going back to that idea of let's just include everything. Let's make the buying process easy, for our guests, that they're going to pay this price and everything will come included with it.
Right.
And so this is just, if you can believe it, a small list of what comes included excuse me, on a Silversea expedition. So if we look at our door-to-door fare, and this is our most common and most popular fare that gets booked with us, this includes everything, hence the name, from the minute we pick you up at home in your private executive transfer to the minute we drop you back off at home at the end of your voyage with us. Right. So we will help you with your international round trip airfare, any of the operational pre or post hotels or charter flights that you need in order to make it seamless to get you from, this city to a ship, and vice versa, and then back home. And of course, all of your transfers and your luggage handling as well. Because sometimes, with some of the logistics of the destinations we're getting to, it could mean multiple flights, different transfers and buses and things. And we don't want our guests to be, having to lug their luggage all around and everywhere. So we take care of that for our guests. Now, from an on-ship perspective, and this would be for both our classic and our expedition product, all of our accommodations on board our ships are suites, and majority of them have private verandas as well. So, automatically you're starting with a much higher amount of room, than you might be used to in your past cruising life if it wasn't in the luxury space. And really for Silversea, what sets us apart from a luxury perspective is that we do provide a butler for all of our suites as well. No matter what category you're in, you can be in the lowest suite, and we will still offer a butler plus a stateroom steward for you as well. And, sometimes people, maybe they're not used to traveling with butlers. We do have a ton that they won't travel unless there's a butler. Right. But for those that aren't sure or have never had, kind of the service of a butler, just some of the things that they can do for you. They can pack and unpack for you. I mean, I kind of love this idea because I personally, especially packing up at the end of a voyage, emotionally, I hate it because I know the voyage is coming to an end, but it's like, just kind of having to use those last moments on your ship to have to pack. Don't worry, they can take care of that. And there's been
a lot of times where you're out enjoying the wonderful nature and you're looking at your watch saying, we've got a lot to do. We should cut our what we're doing right now short to get back. And you don't want to do that.
Exactly. One of the things I personally loved, and it's sort of this anticipatory service, things you're not expecting, but your butler has kind of taken note of your patterns, your timing of where you eat, what your favorite drinks are, things like that. Yeah. I had an experience where we came back from an excursion. We were out in the Zodiacs during one of my expeditions in Antarctica, and came back to the suite, and there was tea and hot chocolate and freshly baked cookies just sitting there waiting for us. And, everything was still hot. It's like they know they've got it timed. It's like the minute your card scans, and you're back on the ship, they are, in the behind the scenes delivering this to your suite so that the moment you go up, you don't see anyone, but all of a sudden there's this wonderful little display.
And you know what? To that, I had something like that happen to me twice when I was aboard Silversea. We came back, we were out in Alaska, and we came back, and there was hot chocolate sitting there waiting for you, and it was still steamy. And another time I came back, and you had a little note saying, I drew a bath for you, check the temperature before you get in, but it's completely ready and waiting for you. And he had little fake candles all around, like the little LED lights. And it was just like, oh my goodness, this is luxury. This is beautiful.
Exactly. And I think sometimes people don't know that those are the little extra things that you
Mm-hmm.
remember. Like I still tell the story, which I will tell this story on this of a similar experience that we had in the Zodiac. It's like just that extra attention to
Mm-hmm.
detail. And those end up being the things that our guests talk about, long after the voyage, because
Right.
it's those little things that really help you capture the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll share a nice little story a little
Sure.
bit later on about kind of my
Yeah.
experience with that. So going back to on-ship inclusions,
Mm-hmm.
we have multiple restaurants on board our ships, even our expedition ships as well. We can have up to 4 dining venues, even on expedition, which is great. So our guests still have that opportunity to enjoy, diverse cuisine. And if we are in destinations where, there is a local source, like for Antarctica, for example, we're sourcing from Chile.
Mm-hmm.
So we can bring a lot of those flavors into the
Yes.
international part of our restaurant, things like that. Of course, all of your beverages come included, whether you
Mm-hmm.
want to have them at a bar or whether you want to have them delivered to your suite. Those are all available and on offer for you, and as well 24-hour room service. So maybe if you are someone that I'm someone who likes to sleep in the morning, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes with the timing of your excursions and things like that, you do need to be up and off the ship early.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that opportunity to have, my eggs Benedict delivered to the suite in the morning. So I could just sit there in my pajamas,
Mm-hmm.
and get kind of ease myself into the start of the day and kind of get
Yeah.
ready while I'm enjoying breakfast. And then I can get off the ship. I don't need to, go to the restaurant, be all ready and
Mm-hmm.
changed and things like that, sit down and order. You can just time it to come to your suite, which is
Lovely.
fantastic. We do also have all of your gratuities included as well.
Mm-hmm.
So not having to worry about when you go to the bar, is there an additional tip I need to leave? Is there an automatic, 18% gratuity,
Yeah.
things like that. Those all come as part of your included cost. And we do have unlimited Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
available on our ships as well. We are using Starlink. And just kind of a funny story about sort of how strong the signal was, even in a place like Antarctica. I was ashore in Deception Island and still had my phone on airplane mode,
Mm-hmm.
but all of a sudden was getting messenger messages come through, WhatsApp messages come through, and I
Yes.
was like, holy cow! Like I'm ashore in Antarctica and I'm getting the Wi-Fi signal from the ship and messages coming through. So I
Oh
was like,
goodness.
well, I'm just going to send a little video of myself,
Oh
on
yeah.
Deception Island back home to my parents and my husband,
Yeah.
just to show them it was a good laugh. But
Oh, absolutely. And to be able to send a
for
video too, like, wow,
well,
that's amazing.
exactly. And I think
Yes.
too, especially for someone like yourself that can take advantage of the opportunity of traveling and working at the
Yes.
same time,
Mm-hmm.
it's a great way, to marry up the two is knowing you've got the Wi-Fi available to you that you can still continue kind of keeping in touch with family or with work and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's everything that comes included off ship, and we'll focus specifically on the expedition side of that. But
Yeah.
as you did mention, on our classic ocean product, we do have an excursion included per port per day.
Mm-hmm.
So you really could just pay the one price and take all of our included excursions. We
Yes.
do have other optional excursions that you can purchase for an additional charge. It might be, maybe it's like a helicopter flight where we've got minimal amounts of people that we can accommodate. So that would be an example. Or maybe it's a private wine tasting in an Italian villa, where we're learning about the winemaking process there. And it's just for an exclusive group of 12 people. We have different
Okay.
options available, but there is always going to be something included every day per port
Mm-hmm.
on our classic ocean product.
Yes.
But from the expedition perspective, let's talk a little bit about some of the adventure activities that we can
Mm-hmm.
enjoy in some of the most amazing, in my opinion, parts of the world. Now, None of these could be possible. The whole experience really can't be possible without the expedition team. These people truly are the experts, the heart and soul of the execution, the operation, the passion that comes into the expedition experience. They come from all walks of life. They could be, naturalists, kayak guides, marine biologists, ornithologists. They all bring a different specialty to the table because, again, an expedition is more of an education focus. Not to say that we're not going to entertain you at the same time, but we really want to continue the ship as being an extension of the destination.
Yes.
So they will talk about, kind of the night before the following day, the plan, or, the hopeful plan of the next day, get our guests kind of geared up, psyched up, inspired for what's to come, help our guests sign up for kayaking, things like that.
And
And
they're
then for
so
those moments,
passionate too. Like they just
oh,
speak with such an
completely.
excitement. It's contagious. Yeah.
You're so right. And especially too, when they do come from a very specific science background, like it's kind of like I think how we talk about travel, they talk the same way about their specialty. When I hear about the marine biologists talking about their experiences of studying whales and, how their personal experience in some of these places like the Arctic or Antarctica can help them further their research. And we can get involved as guests with the Happy Whale program and using our photography to help track whales. Like, it's so easy to get caught up in, the inspiration of it all, the excitement of it all. And all of that has to do with the expedition team and what they bring to the table and how they inspire our guests. So they will go through a lecture program throughout the expedition as well. And don't get me wrong, we keep you busy. We have you off the ship a lot of the time.
Yes.
But if we do have sea days, if we are maybe spending a little bit more of a lull period during the lunchtime, there could be an opportunity to to kind of squeeze in a quick lecture before your next activity. So it's like they always want to make sure there's some additional engagement on ship before they take us ashore or take us out in the Zodiac and really show us the world off ship as well. So again, it's kind of this nice pairing of the two.
And the other thing is they're always around on the ship. So, if you could sort of catch them and say, "Oh, I had a question for you." They are so willing to stand there and talk to you about any question you might have.
Exactly. And a lot of that goes back to when you're looking at planning an expedition for yourself, things that people don't necessarily know to think of or ask about are things like guest to crew ratio, guest to guide ratio. We pride ourselves at Silversea of having a 1-to-1 guest to crew ratio. So, from a service level perspective, it's going to be very personalized, very attentive. But we take that further on our expeditions with an industry leading guest to guide ratio. So less guests per guide. So they have more of an opportunity to interact with, to have smaller groups in our Zodiacs so that we're not, squishing everybody into an experience. We can do things in much smaller groups. We average about one guide for every 10 guests, which is an amazing opportunity for our guests to get more of that personalized attention and, question opportunities and things like that with the expedition team. Now we know, of course, when we go to do an expedition, there's certain gear and things that we need, and we do provide some of the basics to get our guests kind of excited and geared up for the expedition. So when we're in the polar regions, yes, everybody does get the included Silversea parka. It's a nice dual layer system. As you can see here, you've got kind of the thermal underlayer. And oftentimes our guests would use this, like if you just wanted to quickly nip outside because there was an amazing sunset and you wanted to capture a photo. So a lot of our guests would wear the inner layer around the ship just kind of casually. And then we have that waterproof, windproof outer layer as well. And you can see, you know, it's got a little pocket on the sleeve for your cruise card. It's got the phone pockets right at the chest there. So if I'm an iPhone photographer, you know, I don't have the fancy gear. So it's so nice to take your photo and then just, you know, slip it in your chest pocket. It's got a great hood that you can tie around. So perfect for, you know, experiencing those polar regions.
Yes.
And on all of our expeditions, our guests get a Silversea Expedition backpack, and they do get the reusable water bottle as well that you can use and take with you to, you know, when we're doing excursions, when we're off ship, things like that. And then when we're in our warmer weather destinations, so Galapagos, for example, your snorkel gear, your wetsuits are available. We do have snorkel gear in some of our other warmer weather destinations as well, keeping in mind, you know, places like the Kimberley, West Africa, you don't tend to snorkel there. You know, there's some crocodiles and things in the water that we'd like to avoid. But you know, we do give you that that gear for when it is an opportunistic time for us to use that equipment. And of course, kayaking. So if you're kayaking warm weather, colder weather with us, we kit you out appropriately, you know, with the right kayak life jacket, the polar dry suit if we're in the colder regions. And again, just to make sure extra stuff that you don't need to be packing. And we do, like, especially for, you know, yourself, when you're working with a client, we do actually have this wonderful little website. It's called Ship to Shore Traveler. And this gives you an opportunity to look at different rental opportunities. So we do sometimes have guests that are like, I don't want to pack, I don't want to buy new things. Like, not everybody has polar thermal underwear and things like that ready to go. They're like, I'm just going to rent it all. And you know, it will be ready for me to go. And so there's kind of some neat ways, and there's great packing lists there and things like that. Lots of options to help prepare our guests for an expedition.
And I love that you do that, because some people might not even think about, oh, should have packed layers or not. Exactly. And then you can kind of, last minute go, I didn't get to buy them. Let me see if I can rent them. And then
exactly. So from an experience destination or experience for expedition, you know, the Zodiac is our main kind of mode of transportation, but also we use it, you know, for an activity as well. So we do landings with our Zodiacs. They could be wet or dry. This is a perfect example of sort of a makeshift dry landing where, you know, we're just sort of using the lava rock here in the Galapagos and a towel to help our guests just step from the Zodiac onto shore without getting their feet wet. But sometimes our guests do need to get their feet wet. So, you know, they twist their body out, they drop their feet into the water, and they walk ashore. So some destinations we do recommend, you know, if it's the warmer weather destinations, bring waterproof shoes or waterproof sandals, or ones that you don't mind getting wet. Or, you know, some people do put their shoes in their backpack, you know, go bare feet into the water, put them back on when they're ashore. When we're in the polar regions, you know, this is why our guests have the use of the muck boots as well. Because, of course, that water, a lot colder. So not everybody has, you know, their own massive
I'm not going barefoot there.
And nobody wants to pack that stuff with them when they're going. So that opportunity just to use our boots in the polar regions, because we do the wet landings there as well. But as I mentioned, we can use the Zodiac just to go out and enjoy the surroundings and just, you know, cruise at water level, you know, around kind of icebergs and not too close to icebergs. We do have very heavy safety rules that we follow in terms of safe distances and things like that, because they can shift, they can roll, they can create their own little tidal waves. But the Zodiac is just such a great platform for adventure and experience. And this is where my little story comes in to play. So we were in Antarctica. I took my sister on this trip. We were in Antarctica and we were Zodiac cruising in a place called Plano Bay. And to know Plano Bay, there's different terms that people refer to it as. I've heard iceberg graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard iceberg gallery. I like to go with iceberg garden. It's
Oh,
kind of a fun.
beautiful.
So what
Yeah.
happens is icebergs get kind of pushed by the current into this bay area.
Yes.
And because it's so shallow, the icebergs run aground and they get stuck. And the nice thing about that is now they are just in position for you to just see them towering around you, towering above you, and they're
Just
all
be
over
in
the
awe.
place.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so you're just in awe because they're all stuck here. They can't go anywhere. And they're
Mm-hmm.
just at your beck and call for, inspiration, great photography, things like that.
Yes.
And your attention is so captured by them that you don't even notice the hotel director and hotel team sneak their own little zodiac up beside you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, with kind of a quick hurrah, they whip around and stand up, and they're all holding champagne
Oh,
for
goodness.
our guests to
Yes.
enjoy. And they had a little
Oh,
tray of snacks that we passed around. And for anybody who wasn't a champagne drinker, we had a huge thermos of hot chocolate as well that you could enjoy.
beautiful. So you
And
have a toast right out there. Oh, goodness.
exactly. And honest to goodness, like when we all came back on ship, that is what everybody was talking about. Like that was the chitter chatter at the bar. That
Mm-hmm.
was, the cheers that happened when we were doing the briefing or the recap of the day.
Yes.
Everybody, yes, you remembered the icebergs and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that, but then you remembered it even more because of that little attention to
Service.
detail, that
Yes.
surprise and delight moment that nobody was expecting. And to this day, this is like one of my favorite days in Antarctica now because I experienced it in a way I never had
Mm-hmm.
before. And that's why I love kind of telling that story because it's just
Yeah.
that's sort of what luxury brings to the table when it comes to an expedition experience. Those
Yes.
little surprise and delight moments to really
Beautiful.
enhance the experience.
I love it. That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
Right? I mean, and you know as much as anyone, the beauty of the small ship is that ability to, get
Get you
into
there.
coves
Yes.
and fjords and
Mm-hmm.
channels that the larger ships just aren't able to. And this particular photo is we are just about to go into the Lemaire Channel in Antarctica. It's hard to tell, but there is actually between these two mountain peaks a little narrow channel that we can actually just slip the ship into.
Oh
And
my
we,
goodness.
just glide through with the mountain peaks on both sides. And that is, again, like I know cruising people think about, well, what's there to do on the ship and what's there to do when you're on land? But
Yeah.
there's something so special about just being on water as
Yes.
well and enjoying the moments of where your vessel can take you and everything that you can see
Mm-hmm.
around you from the top deck.
Oh goodness. That is just stunning. Wow.
Yeah,
What was the
I
attraction?
have a hard time doing these, because I'm just like, well, now I need to go back. I want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like looking at my calendar, like, when can I arrange, to get myself
Yeah.
back to these places?
Absolutely. And if anybody's agreeing with Kristin, my email address is info@plentyofsunshinetravel.com and I can get you here. It's incredible. Yes.
Love it. Love it.
Oh, it's just
Now,
beautiful.
also part of the expedition experience is doing some hikes. And
Yes.
obviously, the length of hike, the elevation of the hike will differ depending on the destination.
Yes.
Because in Antarctica, we're not in places where we can go on, 5 kilometer hikes or anything like that. It's usually
Mm-hmm.
very small, kind of segregated areas at a very specific landing site.
Right.
But in those situations, the expedition team will still kind of lay out a path, a pattern of where we should all be walking, be hiking, so that
Mm-hmm.
we're not disturbing, any breeding sites, any
Right.
wildlife, things like that. And you can see that they put up different flags and
Mm-hmm.
cones throughout to help indicate to our guests, where it's safe for us to be walking. We
Wonderful.
do have some of the more rigorous,
Yes.
longer hikes, again, depending on the destination. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
beauty thing about expedition is you can be as active or inactive as you
Right.
choose. You know,
Yes.
if you don't feel comfortable taking the hike that goes like this, zigzagging up the side of a mountain, you don't need to, you know, because there's going to be an alternate activity available for you. It could be maybe just going to see a penguin colony that lives closer to the water, or maybe it's, you know, we'll take you out on a Zodiac cruise so that you can enjoy it from the water perspective if you're not comfortable doing the hike.
Right.
And then
And I
others
think
are
that
like,
that's something to really point out for people who are like myself, who have some limited mobility.
yeah,
I don't use a cane all the time, only for long distances. So for
yep,
me to look at this, it's a little daunting, but my husband would love it. But I would go and see the penguins, or I would go out on the Zodiac. And then we'd have those stories to tell at the end of the day of, well, you hiked up that mountain, that is incredible view, but look at what I saw as well. So you can just
exactly.
share those stories. So there's no limitations in terms of physical ability for expedition too.
And that's the thing. I think sometimes there's a bit of a negative connotation to the words expedition, to
Yes.
adventure, because people are picturing that you're like hiking up Mount Everest or things like
Hmm.
that. And exactly as you said, you do not need to be at that level of fitness in order
Right.
to enjoy an expedition. Our
Hmm.
expedition team recognizes, you know, we get guests on board from all walks of life, all different countries, you know, different age groups, things like that, different fitness levels. And so much of the experience is about prepping our guests, briefing our guests, making sure they're comfortable, making sure all
Hmm.
their questions are answered, you
And
know,
that
so
goes with
that
the
they
service that you give.
exactly,
Amazing.
so that
Yes.
they're confident going into the day's
Hmm.
activities and things like that. And you know, so it's again, you don't need to be like the mountain climber because I am definitely not the mountain climber.
Not happening.
You
Yeah.
know, I am not even really, you know, the hike, the elevation person either. I've done it a couple times, maybe
Hmm.
as sort of a personal goal for myself because
Right.
it's like, okay, well, I'm here. I might as well give it a go. But I'm
Hmm.
not that person in my day to day of like, I'm going to go, you know, hike this side of a cliff or mountain or
But you'd
something.
love to go and see the penguins and just,
Yes,
watch
exactly.
them moving around and how they react with each other. And that's wonderful. Just
Exactly.
the same. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can really make the experience suited for you know, your
Hmm.
own comfort level, your own abilities, things like that. I'm glad we talked about that.
Yes, absolutely.
And then, of course, part of the, you know, additional ways you can experience our destinations is through kayaking. And the
Yes.
great thing with Silversea is kayaking comes included.
Hmm.
Um,
Awesome.
a lot of operators, it is an extra charge. And again, that's
Oh.
kind of that beauty of one-stop shop, pay one
Hmm.
price, everything is there and included. And so kayaking, we do double kayaks. We do that for a safety, you know, perspective for all of our guests. Because even if you're used to kayaking, you know, like here in Ontario on one
Yeah.
of our lakes, it's very different experience when you're in a
Hmm.
place where there's ice all around you and you need to be aware of your surroundings and, you know, whales and things like that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Um,
Can you?
and
Oh,
so again,
yeah.
the expedition team takes our guests through a briefing of what the experience is like, you know, what the gear is that you would wear, how long the experience is, what the process is getting from ship to Zodiac to kayak and back again. So that our guests are going into the sign up process for kayaking prepared, understanding, and they can make their own decision if it's for them or not.
Hmm.
And for each briefing that we do in the evening for the following day, our expedition team will say, okay, tomorrow looks like we could have a couple great opportunities to kayak, you know, here in the morning and potentially here in the afternoon. So you can even kind of make the decision based on the day to day. So you're like, oh no, I really want to go. Like they've really talked up seeing the Adelie penguins at this one. I think I'm not going to sign up for kayaking for tomorrow. I'll see what's coming, you know, kind of later
Right.
down in the itinerary.
Oh,
So you can
amazing.
kind of
Yeah.
pick and choose where it best suits, you know, your own experience as well.
Hmm. Incredible. Oh my goodness.
And then snorkeling. And
Yes.
when we're in a place like Galapagos, for
Hmm.
example, we can do deep water snorkeling, as you can see here. And I think the funny thing is, once we put our guests in flippers and wetsuits, we look a lot like the sea lions when we're underwater.
Oh, goodness.
So, they can get quite curious and, you kind of look like them. So they found a new little playmate to swim around with. And, you can capture kind of moments like this. But for guests that aren't comfortable with deep water snorkeling, because not everybody is, there's an alternate activity that you would be able to do. Depending, where we are, it could be a beach snorkel. So you're in your gear and you just wade in from the beach and snorkel from there. And you're usually in an area where you can step on the bottom. Or it could be, again, we take you on shore for a landing to go and see some wildlife, or maybe take you out in a Zodiac for some scenic cruising. So again, deep water snorkeling, you can try it. You don't have to try it, but it's just another way for our guests to see and experience some of the destinations that we visit.
Incredible. Yep, the polar dip. There you go.
The polar dip, the polar plunge, the polar swim, whatever you want to call it. Of course, we offer it. I can't say I'm as enthusiastic as this gentleman when doing the polar plunge. I'm thankful to say I have done it in Antarctica. I have done it above the Arctic Circle. Wonderful. It never gets easier each time you do it. I actually hate doing it every time, but it's kind of those moments of like, well, I'm here, I think I should do what this guy did and jump into freezing cold water. And the nice thing is you do get the little Silversea Expeditions certificate to show that you have completed the task. You can show it off to your friends and family back home. I've even seen people, they have it like up on their wall behind their office desk, which is quite cute.
That's incredible. And the other good thing with doing it with Silversea, as opposed to jumping into Lake Ontario, is you can go warm up really fast. You go to the sauna, you head out, jump in a whirlpool for that matter. You will not be cold when you get back. It'll be great.
Exactly. And that goes a lot too with the service side of things. It's like your robe and slippers are ready. They're waiting for you when you get back. We've got hot toddies or hot chocolate or tea. You've got the nice sauna you can go to. You've got the jacuzzis you can go to. You can, prep, as you said, prep your, butler to have a hot bath waiting for you in your suite when you get back. And so you're right. There, those amenities are right there waiting for you when you get back into the ship.
As opposed to always doing it, January 1st in Lake Ontario, well, you come out and the air is freezing cold. And you got to get changed. So it's a whole different experience to do it in Antarctica with Silversea.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's always those unique, wildlife opportunities. And I think it's important to note, on an expedition, we're very respectful of the environment, of the wildlife, and everything is always a safe and calculated distance. So we are not interfering with the wildlife. We don't want to change their natural behaviors or, interfere with, as I said, those breeding, moments or things like that. We're there to observe from a safe distance from afar. And just, there's something special about just seeing these in their natural environment and seeing them naturally behave the way they should, because we are not close. They're, we're not taking their attention and things like that. So that, that's one thing I definitely want to stress. When it's an expedition, yes, there's some great opportunities for wildlife and seeing them, in their natural habitat and things like that. But we're not there to get in the way. We're not touching them. We're not sticking a camera in their face.
You're marveling in them. Yeah.
Exactly. It's, just marvel. That's such a good word. Marveling at the beauty of Mother Nature and, what's on our planet. And also a big part of expedition, especially when we are in places like the Arctic regions or in the South Pacific, the cultural immersion, the opportunity to really engage with new communities that you may have never, visited before, understand their way of life, their cultural practices, talk to the elders. A lot of these costumes that you're seeing just in this slide, they're handmade, and for the Arctic, especially learning about their way of life, what their survival is like, especially in the winter time, you know, how their connection to the land, to the animals, to the environment. It's again, just to be not there for the sake of the tourism dollar, but to be there to really appreciate and understand outside of our own backyard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just kind of touch on a few of the destinations that we visit. I mean, you've seen the map. We do the world. We won't talk about the world because we could be here forever and a day. And between you and I, we know that is possible. But just kind of a nice little touch, a little sampling of some of the destinations that you can experience those different activities that we just talked about. This one is maybe not as well known, you know, to some of our clients or you know, potential clients, is the Kimberley. Right. This is in Australia. It's kind of in that northwestern part of Australia. And the draw here, as you can see, some amazing rock formations to the point where some of these rocks are the oldest documented in the world. We do have unique wildlife opportunities here, especially with things like the crocodile, different bird life. There's different tidal flows and waterfall experiences that you can have in the Kimberley, to the point where if you actually see the top photo, it's kind of second from the right. Okay. And it looks like there are all these little kind of water chutes coming through, and there's a zodiac there. The funny thing is, earlier that day, you can't see any of that reef or any of that land. There's this amazing tide that happens where, you know, it really lowers and this reef comes out of nowhere, and now is all of a sudden visible to everyone. And that's where the expedition team is like, let's get the guests in the zodiacs. We're going to go out and have this experience. So really unique, you know, natural behaviors that are happening in this part of the world, and why it's so great to experience it. And you can see some of the original rock art in the Kimberley as well. And it's kind of neat because it's not in a place where it's like, there's a boardwalk that you walk up to with a plaque and you go and see the rock art. This is like, you know, you're taking little pathways in these uninhabited parts of a landing and finding this rock art that's just feels like it's in the middle of middle of nowhere, and you sought it out to have the ability to view it. So really, really cool destination to experience. And these are just different versions of the itinerary that you can do. Kind of the 10-day between Darwin and Broome is the standard to see this part of the Kimberley. But then if you want to marry it up with parts of Southeast Asia, like going into Bali, for example, we do have ones that actually extend even further and go into the South Pacific as well. So expedition, not always polar. There is an opportunity to get to some of those warm weather destinations as well. Now, Northern Europe, I kind of like to call this like an introductory way to experience expedition, because sometimes polar regions or even Galapagos can seem daunting, you know, to someone looking to experience it for a first time. They're maybe not sure it's the right investment for them, you know, for their first time. But destinations like the British Isles, Norway, Iceland, a little bit closer to home, people understand those destinations a little bit more, but we're going to introduce it to you with these amazing pairings, and you're still going to get the expedition team, the zodiac cruising, your landings, things like that. But you're not going to the ends of the earth in order to have to experience your first expedition. So we've got some fantastic itineraries. They range in length anywhere from 9 days up to 14. You could even combine all three destinations of Iceland, British Isles, and Norway and do an even longer, like 3-week itinerary. But it's such a great way to kind of get yourself comfortable and introduced to the idea of expedition and staying a bit closer to home, but still seeing some amazing natural elements of our world. And when you think of a place like British Isles, Other than the fact that we use Dublin and Copenhagen as the base to start or end those expeditions,
Right.
you're not going to the major cities that you might even see on our classic products. So we're not doing, kind of Belfast or, Edinburgh, things like that. It is more to get you to the smaller fishing villages, the uninhabited ruins, the whiskey tasting distillery in the tiny little village, things like that, to help you see a different side of a destination outside of the big cities.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Arctic, I think when looking at the Arctic, not everybody understands the vastness of the Arctic and everything that comes included in, the scope of what the Arctic is.
Right.
So our Arctic exploration involves, mainland Norway and Svalbard. So Svalbard belongs to Norway. It's a separate archipelago. It's a lot of the times where people hope to go to see the polar bears. Iceland, it is part of the Arctic. There is a tiny little island called Grimsey, just north of Iceland. And that's actually where the Arctic Circle crosses through. And Grimsey is a part of Iceland. So we put Iceland in the mix of the Arctic. Iceland's also a great base for starting or ending Greenland expeditions. So, of course, we have the Greenlandic Arctic and different parts of the Canadian Arctic as well. It's funny, actually, this summer we are doing one grand, it's a 31 day expedition. And you can touch the Norwegian, the Greenlandic, and the Canadian Arctic all in one grand expedition, which is very cool. I mean, if you just have a month to disappear and take off.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So this is just a sample of some of the itineraries that you can experience with us in the Arctic. We have, still some space on some of our 24 itineraries. We have our 25 summer itineraries launched as well. If you're thinking even as far as the summer of 26, we should be launching those by September 24 of this year, again, to help you plan these bigger trips and, look further out for these types of things. Because especially too, they're small ships, they're remote destinations. These things fill up. They fill from the top suite down. So if you are someone that is used to traveling in, maybe a royal suite or a grand suite or some of our owner suites, those ones are filling up first on these types of trips.
Right. And there's just
again,
something nice about knowing you're going to be going away on a set date and have something to look forward to.
Exactly. Exactly. And two, just, with the uniqueness of some of these itineraries, some of them only happen once a year. Like the Northwest Passage, for example, happens once a year at a very specific time towards the end of August, because we need enough of the ice to have melted, drifted away so that the ship can get through. So these, again, they're literally once in a lifetime opportunities. And what's interesting is, we talk about the remoteness a lot of the time of Antarctica, and only 2% of the world has been there. But the Northwest Passage is even more remote, has less tourism from a cruise perspective than even a place like Antarctica. So it's almost even more of like an explorer challenge to get yourself to a place like the Northwest Passage.
Wow.
Now, the Galapagos Islands, we have got a beautiful ship here. I'm going to go so far as to say the most beautiful, most ultra luxury, all-inclusive ship in the Galapagos Islands. And so if that is a place you want to go, you really want to jump on board the Silver Origin with us. Again, very purpose-built for the region. She's got a beautiful stern marina at the back where we can load and offload our guests from Zodiac to platform and vice versa.
And I actually did a recording with Silversea about this whole thing. Caro went on the inaugural journey and he did a whole review on it. So if you guys want to go back and look at that playlist, that's phenomenal.
Love it.
Check that one out.
Love it, love it, love it. She is an absolute beauty, and she's got this amazing base camp, that glides our guests nicely into the marina area as well. It's kind of like your ready room. Like, you can kind of meet and interact with the expedition team down there. We've got different kind of bone clones and things all set up. We've got this beautiful kind of LED screen just playing imagery of the destination just to get our guests like eager, excited, ready to go. And the beauty thing about the Galapagos experience is our entire expedition team are from the region. They're either Ecuadorian or from Galapagos, grew up there as a child. They are all certified guides through the Galapagos National Park Service, because 97% of the Galapagos is a national park. Mm-hmm. And, with the size of the group, we've got 11 expedition team members for 100 guests. We've got our highest crew to guest ratio, highest guest to guide ratio, highest Zodiac to guide ratio, or Zodiac to guest ratio in the Galapagos. It's like the best of the best, intimate opportunity to really engage in the area. And all of the food is locally sourced from Ecuador. We want our guests to be inspired by the culinary perspective of the region as well. Yeah. And Silversea is the only cruise line that has a waste management system in place for the Galapagos Islands. So anything non-organic, we have a system in place that it actually gets sent over to Ecuador mainland so that it can be properly disposed of, sorted out, recycled, things like that. Wow. And that's very important for a region like, the Galapagos, where after an experience here, you yourself want to do more to protect it, and to try and help preserve these amazing animals that exist in this region. So we have two different itineraries we offer here, a Western itinerary and a North Central itinerary. And we can maybe save it for another webinar as well on the differences between the two, things like that. But I'm one of those that's like, if you're going to go and you're going to do it once, do them back to back. Do a 14-day voyage. You will never repeat an experience between the two itineraries, which is an amazing way to see the entirety of the Galapagos Islands experience. And then to finish off, I promise we're near the end, Antarctica. And, this one, we have a lot of our efforts in Antarctica. We have 3 ships that we send down here every summer, because especially to the, I think now post, kind of everything, it's like everyone wants to go to Antarctica. It's like, what? You haven't been? How have I not been? So it's like everybody's looking to get down there. And so we have 3 ships.
So funny you say that, because I was on a river cruise and we sat with different people every night and everybody talked about where they've been. And I could tell you every night someone at the table has been to Antarctica, and the other ones are like, oh, I want to go. It was incredible. Yeah.
And imagine that conversation 5 years ago, probably most of the people at that table had never been, or all of them had never been. And that has definitely changed. And I can understand it, rightfully so. I mean, I've been 4 times myself. I would go back again in a heartbeat. There's just something different, special, people talk about it feels otherworldly. And there is wildlife experiences unique to the region. You can see a lot of the different penguin species down here. But what people don't necessarily know is there's different ways you can get to Antarctica. Right. And one of our most popular, and I think you and I will maybe talk about this one in a future, kind of webinar like this, is the Fly Cruise program. So if you didn't want to sail the Drake Passage, from a South American point down to Antarctica, we do offer an option to fly you there. We use little planes that are about 70 passengers, and we have 3 or 4 of them depending on the ship that we're servicing. And we fly you on a 2.5 to 3 hour flight over the Drake Passage land in
That-
King George Island. And this
That's a
is
dream come true. For somebody
right.
like
This
me
is to
who
give you
froze up so fast, I'm happy about that.
that's a great way to try it.
Yeah.
This is a look at the plane. This is a look at the runway. You literally land on a gravel runway. You're
Goodness.
kitted out in your gear, and away you go. So
Incredible.
more
And the
to
adventure
come,
starts. Yep.
right? More to come on that one. And then, of course, we do your traditional sailing cruise as well. We depart from Puerto Williams in Chile. We use this as our base. I know a lot go out of Ushuaia in Argentina. We very specifically use Chile because of the opportunity where as we're making our way back to Puerto Williams, we already have Chilean pilots on board our ship, and we can make an attempt to land at Cape Horn. And Cape Horn, there is an actual kind of pathway with a beautiful monument. It's almost in memoriam. I hate to say it because it's not meant to scare people, but it's like in memoriam of explorers of the past who have, their ships have not made it around the Horn, or they have, passed away at sea. That's modern day, we are on modern ships, things like that. So we're there to, commemorate and kind of pay homage to the explorers of the past. But it's nice to kind of be kind of the only ones in this area going in and out of Puerto Williams. We've got fantastic access and just that opportunity of a chance. We always have to say chance because, swells and things can get in the way as well. But
the goal is to go there.
The goal is to try and get into Cape Horn on the way back, which is great. And only possible.
Not a lot. I don't even think any other cruise lines do that. So that's an incredible.
Well, that's the thing. You need to have Chilean pilots in order to do it. So if you're using, Argentina as your base, you're going to have Argentinian pilots on board. So kind of the nice little tips and tricks and nuances of why we chose Chile as our base.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, for the, it's one of those, if you're going to go there and you're going to do it once, I really recommend the longer itinerary that includes Antarctica, Falkland Islands, and South Georgia. Or if you can't quite get away for the full 18 days, we do have a shorter 15-day that does just Antarctica and South Georgia. And there's a lot of exploration history steeped into this, especially with Shackleton and his relation with Elephant Island in South Georgia. And there's also a wildlife perspective to this itinerary as well. And it is this. It is the king penguin. You cannot find the king penguin on the Antarctic Peninsula. You actually need to go to the sub-Antarctic islands in South Georgia. You can sometimes see them in very small colonies on the Falklands, but if you're looking for this experience, this is South Georgia, where they are there in the hundreds of thousands. And
just to hear the chatter of the noises that they could make, or to get that experience, that would be phenomenal.
Wow. And I leave you with that image, with that experience of, just a quick sampling of the destinations that you can experience with Silversea Expeditions, how we take you there, the intimate way you can explore there with our amazing team without sacrificing on any of those on-ship comforts as well.
Absolutely. That was incredible. I love meeting with you and just getting so excited about cruising, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to put all of that together. And as I mentioned, if anybody would like any more information on any of these, please reach out to me, info@plentyofsunshinetravel.com. Questions that I may not know the answer to, Kristin does, and I have her cell number. So we'll make sure that you get all the information that you need as well. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Always a pleasure.
You're welcome. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's cruise chat with Kristin. I was very excited to be able to meet with her again and to meet with Silversea again as well, which is just great. I I hope you got a chance to go back and look at the playlist, because as I mentioned as we were talking, I do have a whole episode on the Galapagos cruises with Silversea, which is just a phenomenal experience to be able to do that. And I'm so happy that we did a great brand overview for those of you who are subscribed to my channel and you just hadn't seen much about Silversea yet. So it's nice to learn that. And then we hit some of their dynamic itineraries. Just absolutely amazing, and I love everything that's included as well. Next week, I'm going to be meeting with Princess Cruises, and we are going to be discussing some of their really cool itineraries. More than likely, we're going to be looking at Alaska with Princess. To me, when you think of Princess Cruises, you really just think of Alaska, because they're so well known there, and they just really are immersive in the Alaskan experience, which is phenomenal. Make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel, whether you're listening to this on our podcast or you're listening to this or watching this, pardon me, on YouTube. I'd love for you to be subscribed to our channel. That way you get a notification when a new episode comes out. I try to do them every Thursday, but there is times that I'm really busy and overwhelmed with bookings and with dealing with clients, because my clients come first. Absolutely. I'm a full service travel agent, and there are times that I am just very busy helping them, answering their questions, providing the quotes for them, and getting things finalized for their cruises. And I just need some extra time to type up the description. So I apologize that it isn't as consistent as I would very much like it to be in terms of these episodes. I do record them every single week. It's just taking the time to type it all up and do the full description. So make sure if you're subscribed, then you'll know when a new one comes out. So I hope that you're able to do that. So thank you again so much for watching or listening, and I'll see you guys next week or on board one of our group cruises. Bye for now.